So a lot of people come to us because they want to sell, they want to speak, right? And they want to sell on people's stages. And it's my job to show them that, yes, sure, you'll get some authority and whatnot by doing that. But the real authority is actually running your own event.
Everybody wants to know what everybody's doing with AI. How are you using it in the event space, or are you just using it as a business owner for business reasons?
If you are not using live experiences with your audiences, with your clients first and foremost, but with your prospects, over the next 3 to 5 years, you will be left behind. And here's the reason.
If you run your own business, one of the most powerful assets that you have at your disposal is your own personal brand. And most people don't use it enough. Indeed, one of the best ways to use your personal brand is to introduce yourself from the stage, to sell from the stage, whether it's a live event in the real world, whether it's a live event in the virtual world, whether it's a recorded event. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create 6 to 7 figure paydays on your own stage or the stages of other people. And to help me out, I have with me someone who I've known and respected for a really long time, and that's Brody Lee. He's the founder of eventsconsulting.co. He's an expert in selling from the stage. He's been doing it for such a long time. He's my go-to guy when I want tips on how I can do my job better. And to kick things off, you've been involved in something a little bit wild and interesting lately. Tell me if I've got this right. You're going to be running a charity event in space?
Yes, that's right. It's great to be here, James. So a couple of years ago, I randomly posted on one of our business socials that one day I'm going to run one of our events from space, and it was like a bit of a ha moment. It wasn't like a just like this is just a wild harebrained idea. And then the very next week, a client sends me he's working on our event's AI right now. He's become a strategic partner, but he sent me this article of a hotel that's being built in space that's going to house 280 guests. And I was like, crap, this is no longer a harebrained idea. The universe has put this in front of me. Like, I got to run with this. And originally, it was going to be, I was going to take a bunch of business people up. We're going to do an event in space, and it's going to be really, really cool. But after a while, after about 6 months or so of playing with this, I was like, this idea is really dry. And rich white dude goes to space. That story's kind of been told. Two of the people at the time that had been half the world loves, half the world hates, Bezos and Musk. And then the other one's like the cool uncle, Richard Branson. And I was just like, I don't want to be a part of that club. I've got to do something a bit more impactful. And so a lot of our brand, like the business under eventsconsulting.co, which is our forward facing brand, is called Beyond Impact. And the reason it's called that is because everything in our business is designed around the premise, what if every time we do business, something good happens in the world? And so we embed a ton of philanthropy into everyday business stuff that we're doing. So for example, at an event, every single time someone's touched, moved, or inspired at a virtual event, they'll type the word impact into the chat and we'll donate, say, a week's worth of clean drinking water to communities in need. And so after about 6 months or so, I was like, okay, cool. I gotta come up with something better. And it took me another 6 months to land on the idea. And I was like, what if we create a modern day Live Aid? You know, that thing that they did in the 80s
Oh,
where
yeah, the concert.
the big concert. But instead of just doing it like we did virtually during the pandemic, that together at home thing where they had artists come in and they whatever, what if we did it from this hotel in space? And what if we broadcast it and we reached 8 billion people on the planet? Wouldn't that be something really
Wow.
exciting to do and to chew off? And so and then I kind of took it a bit further. Like, what if we raised $10 billion for worthy causes? Never been done before, and like no idea how I'm going to do it. But this is a decade-long project for us, and I thought this is really, really cool. And so what we're going to do is that $10 billion that we raise will so the broadcast will be like a little bit of a personal development event, a concert, like a celebration, and then some hard hitting stuff about social issues. And the goal will be to get everyone on the planet to donate in some capacity if they can. And we'll heavy governments and sovereign wealth funds as well. But the whole point is to build what I'm calling a humanity future fund. That $10 billion will be invested into the capital markets. And every year, based on historical returns, we can see that we'll probably get back about 600 million to $1 billion every year. And so my foundation, One Down 99 to Go, will then be able to distribute funds forever, about $1 billion every year for the rest of time. And it's called One Down 99 to Go because we know that 80% of the world's population live on less than $10 per day. 75% of the world's wealth is concentrated in the top 20%. And I don't know the latest figures, but in 2022, the top 1% had 5 times more wealth than the bottom 80% combined. So right
Yeah.
now, with the world, with I've got this other statement in our business. What if we could make the world work for 100% of humanity 100% of the time without damaging the environment or harming people? It's been adapted from a Buckminster Fuller quote. And so right now, we're one down and 99 to go. The 1% have figured out, I'm part of the 1%, we've figured out how to make the world work for us. We've got 99% of the world's population that we can bring up with us as well. So this foundation is going to take that money and donate it to worthy causes, invest in businesses that are doing really, really cool things. And together we're going to create this kind of circular virality of giving throughout the world. And I'm really excited by it. It's going to be lots of fun.
Well, this is amazing. So, firstly, if you're listening to Brody for the first time, you're thinking, "Wow, this guy's a big thinker," and he's a big thinker, but he's also got the chops to back it up. The other bit there is that I love the elements of branding that you bring to everything. You make things that are boring suddenly memorable. But over the last 10 years, for anyone that's just listening to this and going, "What's this guy?" And suddenly he's talking about running a rock concert in space. And by the way, I love the idea. I love the idea of having as it goes around the planet, you have different artists from different parts of the world. So as it
That's
gets to
exactly what we're
daytime,
doing.
it's
Yeah.
just going. I love it. My
What's
my
really cool,
brain's
man,
already
as well,
sparking.
what's really cool as well with AI now, we can have everything live translated with, say, for example, I'm going to be a
Oh,
presenter. Of course, I'm going to be a presenter for 24 hours on there. I'm going to make sure that I'm on camera for 24 hours just because how fun will that be? Also, my ego. It's my thing. Why not? But it'll get live translated in my voice into every language on the planet, and everyone will be able to understand at any given time. So, artists
yeah.
from local like those areas, all that sort of stuff, you've absolutely nailed it on the head.
Yeah, as you pass over a part of the world, that's the artist that's like playing in that part of the world. For example, I don't know what state John Farnham's in, but he's not popular anywhere else but Australia. But if he is, if he's in on stage while it goes over Australia, we're all up singing "We're the Voice." But
Will
anyway,
that be his last tour again for the umpteenth millionth time?
that would be a good one though. That would be his last. That would be a fantastic comeback tour. One more time in space. Um, but over the last decade or so, you've helped a lot of people. You've run a lot of amazing events. Um, can you drop any stats that because they're overwhelming whenever I have a look at them?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start with before all of this, I used to run large events with Apple and I was training their leadership and executive teams on how to sell one to many. So Steve did the late 2000s, early 2010s. Steve would do these massive product launches and we had a real quality problem of millions of people flooding into the stores and we weren't able to do what Apple's known for is that one-to-one selling. You go into an Apple store, you get a specialist that helps you on your journey. Apple really redefined retail with that. And so we suddenly had to pivot and pivot hard. And part of my role when I was training their leadership and executive teams was how do we roll out a one to many selling strategy? How do we take these product launches and when we have these millions of people coming to the store, give them an experience like they're being sold to one and they're having that one to one specialist experience, but doing it in a group setting. And so that's where I got my chops from. I had this PhD style education from Apple on how to sell one to many. I trained leaders and executive teams across the Canadian market. I went back to Australia and we're doing management stuff there as well. So lots of fun, really, really cool. But eventually, as we all do when we get into a space like this, I kind of had my proverbial come to Jesus moment when I woke up from a massive drug overdose that should have killed me. And, when I woke up, it was really beautiful. It was like, it's such a gift that this happened because I woke up and there was my mum, my dad, paramedic, and a police officer all staring down at me. And I had this moment of like, Brody, is this really how you want to live your life? And, I had some trauma that had resurfaced in the months previously that I hadn't remembered from when I was a kid. And I got this ability in this moment of clarity where I was like, okay, cool. I got to figure out what's happening in my mind, my body, and my spirit. Eventually, I found myself at a personal development event, and to cut a long story short, at that Tony Robbins event, I forgave my abuser, and in so doing, I forgave myself, and I experienced joy, like pure unadulterated joy for the first time in like 26 years of my life. At that point, because I was 31, and this abuse happened when I was 5. It's really really cool. Sorry, when I was 6 uh, at the event, I was like, man, if I can get access to this, like joy without drugs or alcohol, I want every day to feel like this. And I'm never going to put another mind altering substance in my body ever again. I have now, it's been 8 years just this past May. We're in August right now. And I made a decision to make my life be about impact and meaning. And so at that event, I said, I'm going to be on stage with Tony Robbins within 1 year. 3 months later, I found myself on stage with Tony Robbins, welcoming him to stage, dancing at an event with 15,000 people. I wasn't actually speaking on stage with him, But we started this business, and out of all of that, and what happened was my first event, I one person showed up at. I was naive and so green, man. I was so green. I do you know those Facebook events that we all used to rely on. I created a Facebook event and I boosted it, thinking that
Yeah.
Facebook would fill it with the 40 people that said they were interested in coming. And so I had the room set up. I was there like 6:45, no one showed up. 7 o'clock, no one was there. 7:15, this guy kind of wandered in. And it's funny, I wanted to run, I wanted to hide, I wanted to like do everything but do that event. I sat down with the guy and for 3 hours, and 3 hours later, he handed over $20,000 to me. So I made a
Wow.
commitment that day that I was never going to have an empty room ever again. And I haven't since, obviously. The first year in business, we did $1.3 million using events. The second year in business, we were scaling, and then in the pandemic, obviously everything fell apart. I was coming back from Tony Robbins' house in Sun Valley in Idaho, and the very next day, Australia shut down our borders. And when I was supposed to be on the road for 36 weeks that year, millions of dollars lost overnight, and like had to rearrange
I
everything,
remember
lost
this.
like bookings, everything, right? But another blessing in disguise, we ran our first virtual event in September of that year after realizing this thing wasn't going away. We made $1 million in one day. And that started the $1 million events brand that we kind of kicked off with, and has helped us now to. So, back to your original question, what are the stats? 1,400 events, 125 million in client revenue, 50,000 hours of stage time, and 5 million lives impacted through our events and our philanthropy as well. So we've had a good run. I'm really fortunate that I've been able to meld my Apple experience, my personal experience with my trauma, and I use that a lot from stage. It's part of the branding and all that sort of stuff. And now, obviously, the philanthropic side of things as well. And I use the space event as an example of what I call a 1 million year vision. And that is, people say, oh, I've got a 1 year plan or whatever. And they go, oh, okay, cool. Well, how am I going to do that? They start building a plan around it. And you ask someone to create a 1 million year vision. They go, well, why would I do that? And I'm like, that's the point. Why? And we start thinking beyond ourselves and beyond our time on this planet, and how do we really create a legacy? And so, yeah, that's kind of it, man. That's a long answer to your stats question.
That's a great answer. And I'm glad you went into all the detail because, when someone says, oh, I'm going to put rock stars in rocket ships in a flying hotel around the planet, and then, raise $1 billion and then use the interest or the upside of that to feed people, or raise wealth. People go, oh, that's insane. But then when you go tell your story, and I find this in my life too, and people go, oh wow, they overcame this, and then they did this, and then they hit another obstacle, and they overcame it. Do you sometimes feel like, I don't know, one of those survivors of the London bombings during World War II? At the end of the Blitz, they're like, I'm invincible, man. I can survive anything.
um, I don't know that I necessarily feel invincible so much as I feel like I'm very fortunate to be here. And I talk about this in one of my keynote speeches. We have a finite time on this planet, right? So if we were to condense all of history, the 13.8 billion years to the Big Bang, down into a 24-hour period, like the time that you and I kind of inhabit on this planet is a speck of like
Barely a
one
hair.
well, at the time that we're here, it's like one trillionth of a millisecond to midnight on the clock, right? We're like
Yeah,
that.
right.
It's gone in
So
an
it's like a
instant. And now,
millionth of a hair.
well, that's right. Yeah. And like, so we're on this little tiny speck of dust floating around this big ball of gas in this infinitely expanding universe. And I can choose to either go look at that pessimistically and go, well, what's the point? Like, I'm only here for 100 years. I personally intend to live to 1,000 years, by the way. I don't prescribe to the to the 100-year doctrine. Um, but the technology's there, by the way, to do it. Like Peter Diamandis and stuff like that, they're looking into it. Um, we're given the choice between living a life of mediocrity and living a life where I'm dreaming big, creating impact, and doing things that are seemingly impossible. Everything was seemingly impossible at some point, putting a man on the moon, all that sort of stuff, right? It's just we need people that are dreaming big enough to be able to accomplish it. Now, do I know for a fact that I'm going to be able to get this event up off in space? Hell no. I've got no idea what I'm doing. It's unconceived of yet in humanity. But there's somebody out there that says they're putting a hotel in space. So I figure, well, why can't I be the person that opens that hotel with
It
this
doesn't
big
have to be
event?
next year. This could be a goal that happens in 5 years, in 10 years, in
It's a
15 years,
10,
in
yeah.
30 years.
I think it's a 10-year thing. And so, given the choice, man, between living a life of mediocrity and one of impact, I choose impact every single time. What's the point otherwise?
Yeah, I have a
What's the
mentor,
point?
George, and it's a great apt expression that he uses for this particular scenario. But he
Yeah.
says, aim for the stars and you might just hit the roof of the Dunny shed. And you are quite literally aiming for the stars. You are quite literally aiming for the stars. We have a project going on behind the scenes which we're calling Operation Silo, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to use AI in such a way where we can create the most authentic versions of an individual. And I could go into detail about that for hours. But in my mind's eye, I'm talking about a project that's probably going to span 30 years. It might even span to the rest of my life. But at the end of it, the end goal is that you can do things
Bottle.
like the wisdom and the personality and the authentic feel of a hero or an expert or a loved one. Um, and if I'd said that 3 years ago, people would have said, "Oh, you're talking about an episode of Futurama, right? Heads in bowls,
It's true.
right?" But now I'm saying,
It's
well,
true.
no,
Yeah.
AI at the moment is gimmicky. I'm creating images of me all the time, riding unicorns and doing fun stuff, and it's also built on these large language models, which are subject to government interference. They're problematic in their own way. But a point will come where we can have our own large language models, which is like the crocodile brain, and sitting on top of that, we'll have our own knowledge bases, which will be like our prefrontal cortexes. And I talk about this sort of stuff, and I talk about bottling humans, and people go, "Wow, Jones, that sounds like science fiction." I don't have to get it done next year, but in the next 30,
No.
40, 50 years, that's my
Yeah.
version of immortality for the time being. Anyway, what cliches we are talking
You
about
know what?
immortality.
Yeah, and look, dude, I think there are at a time where this sort of stuff is possible. You know, the AI stuff, and we're doing some incredible things with it as well. We're kind of like the wild west of AI at the moment. It's like it reminds me of the early dot com. We're of the age where we
Yeah.
remember aging ourselves here of when the dot com boom was happening, right? And it was exciting, and there was all of these new things coming out. There was AOL, there was Netscape, there was Amazon just starting, and we had all of these things and we didn't really know who was going to win or what the outcome was. We just knew that it was really exciting and everyone was kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And so I think now is the time to dream about immortality and those sorts of things. I think now's the time to think about, yes, we can do this thing in space, because the technology is moving so quickly that like I can't even keep up with it. What we created yesterday is already outdated, which is exciting and really, really cool.
Well, let's talk about AI for a little bit before we get into the nuts and bolts of events. And it's just simply because AI is a hot topic right now. Everybody wants to know what everybody's doing with AI. How are you using it in the event space, or are you just using it as a business owner for business reasons? Events are business, but
All of the
all of
above.
the above. Yeah, right.
All of the above. Yeah, look. So first of all, what I want to say to everyone is, if you are not using live experiences with your audiences, with either like with your clients first and foremost, but with your prospects, over the next 3 to 5 years, you will be left behind. And here's the reason. Uh, as the rise, as we're like, as human, sorry, as the human connection, right? So we think about this, as supply of human connection is dropping. We know that we've got these wonderful devices that everyone hates, but we have to have them. We have to love them. We're more disconnected than ever. Social media, it's the most polarizing time in probably history because of all of that. Supply of human connection is dropping, which also means that demand for it is increasing at the same time. In our marketing space, sales cycles are taking longer. And given the choice between buying off somebody that I've spent 45 minutes with on a sales call or somebody that I've spent 3 days with live in person, I'm going to choose the person that I've spent 3 days with because I know, like, and trust that person so much more. And so and you're starting to see this with all of the big gurus as well. Russell's doing his whole events thing and selling online. We've got all of these people starting to come out with this event stuff. Peng Joon is back doing his events things as well. And they know that the old, like, just whack up a landing page and get people to book a call does not work like it used to because we've reached a point of saturation in the industry. So so for example, most internet marketing strategies have only been around for about 25 years. Uh, and then events, we've been gathering as human beings to connect, communicate, and engage in commerce for 300,000 years with events. So banking on a 25-year-old internet marketing strategy versus an event experience that's been around for 300,000 years, I'm going to choose the event experience. There's a reason why Tony's been doing the same event for 40 years. Tony Robbins, right? Unleash the power within. And so, I'm sharing all of this with you because there is an intersection between AI and live experiences that no one's really tapping into yet, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're running an event in March next year here in the US in Florida called Impact Revolutions Disguised as Gatherings. And its whole purpose is to take people and help them to become categories of one in their niche through the power of live experiences. Now, how we're doing that is we're using these language models that you're talking about. We're using AI basically at every step of the way to enhance the participant experience. For example, I know how to laser target in on my ideal client now because of AI and the way in which it analyzes data that we feed it. So that's number one. Second piece is that as soon as somebody registers for one of our events, they speak to an AI agent. That AI agent captures information, demographic information about them, and information about their business and their clients so that we get a full picture of who they are. Then we also, at the same time, we have technology that will give us a sense of their buying profile as well, based on their credit score. So we see their spending power, we see how much money they have in credit and savings and all those sorts of things. And together, before the event, we have an understanding of exactly who's coming into our room. Then I feed all of that information into our events expert AI that's trained on all of our data. It knows our events inside out, and it then spits back to me, okay, for the people in the room, these are the themes that they're experiencing at the moment, and you need to tell these stories at these moments with your content to be able to achieve the outcome of them being more likely to purchase your product. We also do things live at the event. We collect data from them live, and it changes how we actually position the pitch to them as well, based on the experience of them in the room. So AI has become pivotal in the way that we do things. It's creating phenomenal results. Just a quick example. I had a client recently. I did a repitch for them, um, and they were actually getting data from their clients about their hopes, dreams, aspirations, fears, and pain points live at the event. They all filled out a survey. And then I grabbed that survey, I whacked it into our AI, said, I'm doing a repitch to these guys soon. You know my repitch model. What do these people need to hear? Uh, and how can I present it to them in a way that's going to help them get across get across the line? And it created a script for me, a closed eye script that was phenomenal, like hands down one of the best things, and it hit on every single thing that these people needed to hear, and we extracted an extra $75,000 out of it.
That's wild. That's wild. Um,
Very wild.
I'm leaning in, and I'm leaning in because I do a lot of things on on video. I do a lot of video stuff. I do a lot of virtual events. I haven't done as many live events in a while in a while as I should have. Um, but what I'm seeing is that this is almost like the same as when we started to use automation 10 years ago. So I'd like go, hey, I've got this automation tool to use on LinkedIn, or I've got I remember being at a live event, running a workshop, talking about email automation on a Friday afternoon, and then everyone in the room, as did our entire database, all got an email from me. And everyone was stunned. How did everybody get an email from James? He's here in the room right now, right? This is like 10, 15 years ago, right? Now we all
Mhm.
understand this. We set up emails, we schedule emails, they run on autopilot, the whole bit. But I'm at the event and I'm talking about automation, and that happens, and everyone goes, "Wow." A couple of years later, I'm talking about LinkedIn again. I'm talking about what strategies we're using for LinkedIn. Everyone goes, "Wow." And then sooner or later, someone always like says, "But what about the authenticity, James? Like, this lacks authenticity. It doesn't feel real." And my response was the same back then with the email, with the LinkedIn. Now it was with AI, and that is when you find technology that allows you to lighten your workload and help you do things better, that actually frees you up and empowers you to be more authentic in the moments that really, really count.
That's right.
So, for
That's right.
example, getting on the phone when you need to, or hosting that live event. You're not running around doing all the smaller stuff. But your comment about live events being more and more important, and this disconnect, you're talking about a disconnect with community. That's very true. I'm feeling a disconnect with reality, where you just see people feeling like like what's real and what's not anymore, right? But if you can step into someone's real world and use AI to create a better selling experience, use AI to write the emails that are going to get someone excited for the event, use AI to write that pitch. But then there are these moments that really, really, really count. And then that's when you step up and you're being your truest, most authentic form of yourself. And
And
that's what we should be using our time for.
1000%. And I think that AI is an amazing tool, but it will never, ever, ever replace the human connection piece. It'll never replace that experience of being with someone live in a room where they say something, they look at you in the eye, they touch your shoulder as they're speaking to you. And whilst words are coming out of their mouth, your neural pathways are literally rewiring live because you're there with them and you're having an insight or whatever. I actually have a deep reverence for the art and craft of being on stage and speaking and whatnot. And the reason why is because I know that I hold the audience in the palm of my hand, and their experience while they're there is dependent on the words that come out of my mouth, the intentionality, and how I approach that in-person, live, real situation. That like nothing, you can't script that. You can get guidelines. Well, you can script it, and you can sound like an automated autonomatron that doesn't really care about the people that are there, or you can use AI to inform you to and help you to enhance the way in which you stand for people to step into their greatness and to make the decisions that they need to in terms of what they're like in their life and their businesses and so on when they're in the room. One of the things that I'm really, really clear on, and this is what's really exciting about, uh, I guess this what I'm predicting, and I'm 99% certain this is what's going to happen, is that live events are going to be like really critical for people. Is that when you're up on stage and you're speaking and those neural pathways are literally wiring and firing because of what you say, you're actually literally reordering the way in which the human species evolves. Because a new neural pathway is created in somebody's brain and it alters their DNA. Therefore, you've changed the trajectory of humanity because they've had some insight, some breakthrough that they then go out and apply in the world and so on and so forth. And so, if we're thinking about a post AI world, a world where there's the existence of AI and human beings, the way in which we are going to dominate as a species is by having these in-person connections where we can actually like help people evolve as human beings and using AI as the tool to do that. I'll just share another example really quickly of how insanely cool this stuff is. We have access to a technology that takes all of the information that we've gathered about people, and with RFID tracking on their name tags, we know where every single person is in our event at any given time. We know exactly their location. Now, people might think, oh, that's a bit Big Brother-esque. That's one way of looking at it. Or it is us standing for them to be in their power and to come and get the outcomes that they want. So, say for example, I know somebody that has a very specific need that they've in their onboarding with our AI agent. They have said, I need this outcome, and they are not in the room when that outcome is being delivered. I know that. And then I can send a salesperson to go and have a conversation with them. I also happen to know their buying power and whatnot. So if there's someone that's high net worth that should be in the room for the pitch that's not, I can send a salesperson to that person. Now, is that sinister? Is that being an overlord? I don't think so. I think that's being smart, using the technology and the tools to our advantage to ensure that the people that are actually coming to the event get the outcomes that they've come to get.
We're in the business of delivering outcomes. That's what we do. I mean, like, you look at what people sell in a pitch, we go outcomes, things, and feelings. That's what we're always talking about, outcomes, things, and feelings, wherever we're pitching and selling anything. And there are some people that hear what you said, like, oh, that's a bit manipulative. The reality is that it's our job as business owners and sellers, if we believe in what we do and if we believe that we're making the world a better place, is that we need to be having the conversations out loud that our target audience is having in their heads.
Yep,
Uh,
absolutely. And being honest about it as well.
mm,
Like, I get up on stage and like I hate that old straight line selling and like run to the back of the room, rah, like if you don't do this, you're gonna die tomorrow. Like that kind of crap. Like we're well past that. But I can kind of get away with this because of the niche that I'm in. But I literally get up on stage, hey, my name is Brody Lee, and by lunchtime tomorrow, you're gonna be begging for me to sell to you. And everyone kind of laughs, and I'm like, no, no, I'm serious. And every single time for my last 4 live events, I've done that. And by lunchtime the next day, it's like, can you please just sell to us already? We're ready to
yeah,
hear
can
the
you tell
offer.
us what your offer is? What's it look
Yes,
like? What's
that's
the
right.
structure? How much is it going to
I
cost?
just want to buy,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I do whenever I do a webinar or a sales webinar, I do the agenda about 5 minutes in. Um, and there are things that, like, Brody does that I do, but letting people know early that you're going to be selling to them later is a really good idea, because if you don't do that and you start to sell later, they're like, "What? I thought we were just here to be friends."
Yep.
But if you do that at the beginning, it's different. But what I do, Brody, is that I actually say, I go, "Here's the agenda, da da da," and I say, "And a little bit later, if you want to continue working with me, I'll give you the opportunity to do that, and I might even deliver a little bit of a pitch." Because here's the thing: successful people love a pitch. Successful people love being sold to. People that don't want to get anywhere in life don't want to change, and they'll run away from a pitch. So when I get to that point, you can hang around, listen to what I have to say, or you can go off and make yourself a cup of tea and come back when I'm done. But anyway, I'll be doing that at about the 50-minute mark. Cool. And everyone
Yep.
goes, "Oh yeah, cool." And then I get straight into it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then
great.
at that
That's really
moment,
cool.
no one leaves. Everybody leans in. How's he doing it?
And
Yeah.
absolutely. Because what you're doing as well, you're actually programming them on how they should be behaving in an environment. You're telling them smart people love pitches. And basically they're like, well, I want to be a smart person, and so I'm going to try and fall in love with this pitch, even if it triggers me, etc. We do an activity on day 3 of my event. I'm not going to share it because hopefully someone in your audience decides to come to my event and I want them to get the surprise. But what happens is that this activity that we do, and I pre-frame it by saying, is that half of you are going to absolutely love me by the end of this activity, and you're going to think it's the best thing that's ever happened at an event, and half of you are going to hate me with a fiery passion and are going to want to leave and want a refund. For those of you who are going to hate me with a fiery passion, I make no apologies for this. And the invitation to you is when you hear that, and this is like they've already been sold to the day before. This is post selling. And so when you do get triggered like that, that is the very reason why people will not buy from you at your own event. So you should lean in at that moment. And they go, okay, cool. The
Mm.
next day, it's like they're waiting for it, the anticipation builds. And then I tell them what it is. And then half the room bursts into laughter because they're like, this is so cool. And the other room goes, holy shit, I need to deal with my stuff. Otherwise, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really cool, man.
We were saying in our business, and I think I'm probably going to use it in marketing too, but we use it internally, and it's if someone triggers you, you owe them $100. So if my business partner John goes and says something, and I suddenly rage, he's like $100, because I have to go, wow, okay, what did you say then that triggered me? Because then I can analyze what triggered me and figure out what's below all that. Hey, so let's get a little bit practical. Let's talk about events. So when you're helping your clients with events, are you helping with the whole thing, right? From topic identification, how to actually do the logistics, how to fill the room. Have you got a process or a framework that you work through? How does it work in your world?
Yeah. So there's two different parts to it. There's one part for people that are selling on other people's stages called the stage method, and there's the other part that's like for people that are doing their own events. Let's talk about people that are doing their own events. The Because I think this is kind of where most people should want to get to. So a lot of people come to us because they want to sell, they want to speak, right? And they want to sell on people's stages. And it's my job to show them that, yes, sure, you'll get some authority and whatnot by doing that. But the real authority is actually running your own event. That's
Tell you
where
what,
the true income
this is
comes
this
from.
is this is absolutely singing to the choir here. So my first business was a print magazine made of paper and ink, right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to write, and I couldn't get anyone to put any of my stuff in their magazines, so I launched my own magazine. Then throughout my entire career, it's like, oh yeah, well, if I want to do this, I'm gonna just have to build it.
Yeah.
And I could either beg and plead to get on the stage of other people, or I could just go, you know what? I'm gonna run my own freaking event, and I'm gonna be the master
Yep.
of my own destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. I love that. And I think um you have so much more control. And to be honest, like when you're on other people's stages, they don't want you to sell on their stage. When people come on my stage, like I don't want them to sell on my stage because
Yeah,
it's
let
my
me sell
offer.
my stuff on my stage. Sell me.
Yeah, that's right. I want speakers on my stage that are going to add value to my people so that they go, oh my God, if Brody has access to this person, I want to be around Brody more. I don't
Yeah.
want them taking my money, right?
Mm.
So yeah, we have a model called the $1 million events model. It's 5 steps. It's really simple. Set up, show up, blow up, pay up, and scale up, which is great because it's really easy for people to remember. And basically, what it is setting up an event ecosystem that fits with whatever your impact, your income, and your lifestyle goals are. So some people, it's like, I want to run in-person events because I love being on stage. Other people are like, I want to run a lifestyle business and do my event off the back of a yacht while I'm sailing around Croatia. Whatever it is, right? We create the ecosystem that fits best for you. Some people want to do a blend. I do both. Then then the show up piece is like, how do we fill your event with attendees that are red hot, ready to buy, pre-sold on working with you? So that's like, yeah, sure, targeting the right people, getting them to raise their hands and register. But then also, what does that nurture? You mentioned this a little bit earlier. Like, what do you say in the lead up to the event so that they're excited about being there? And so they're like leaning in before they've even arrived. And how do you manage your communication with them? Who do they speak to on your team? All that sort of stuff. Little pro tip for people. If you're running a live in-person event, have an event concierge that builds a relationship with every single person that registers, and make sure that event concierge is the very first person that they see when they walk in the door. Here's what happens. They've developed a relationship with the concierge. When they come into a new environment, people, their resistance is up. They're nervous about being around people. Will I fit in? Will this be the right event for me? And they see that person, Mary or whatever, that they've had this relationship with, and instantly their resistance lowers and they feel like they're at home. That's just a show up, a hack
Like when
for
you
you.
turn up at the
Yeah,
pub and one of your mates goes, James, and you walk into the
feel like
pub, it's all new people, it's all nervous. Oh, that guy looks a little
Mhm.
bit scary, and then someone in the back of the room goes, James, and then I belong.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what it is. Like the reason why we gather at events is because we want to belong. We want to connect, we want to communicate, and for us, we want to engage in commerce as well. And so then we have the blow up piece. That's step number three. What I love about blow up is that it's about blowing their minds with inspiring content and delivery so that they're touched, they're moved and they're inspired to want to continue the journey with you. And one critical mistake that we see people make with their events, so please avoid this at all costs, is people just whack together content. They content dump on people. We call that the info dumper.
I've
They're
done
just like,
that.
blah, 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 right. And then they whack in a pitch somewhere and go and hope and that people will buy. What we actually want is to create something, and this is like from so there's two kind of speaker identities. There's the info dumper and there's the transformed leader. The transformed leader is the person that guides people with what we call conversion content, and that conversion content is designed to help them get an outcome so they feel like they've gotten value, and at the same time guide them. That's part of our stage model. Guide them towards the enrollment process. The last two steps, right? Um, uh, Guiding them to that basically so that when you make your offer, it feels like the next logical step for them. It feels like, okay, cool, yep, I've got this, and now I need this next thing to be able to complete the picture. And so there's an old saying, I don't like this so much, but essentially what you're doing is you're solving a problem for them and you're creating a problem downstream, or
Yeah.
identifying a risk downstream that if they just solve that problem, that there's going to be hurdles that they need to overcome that you just
That's
happen to solve with
life.
your pitch.
That's
That's
life.
life.
And when you run a
It is.
business, you solve one problem and all it does is introduce the next problem. And then you solve that problem and then it introduces the next problem. And there are, you look at the people like right at the top of the food chain, and I'm talking about the Bill Gates and the Elon Musks of this world. Their lives are loaded with problems. You think when I
Mhm.
get to the next level, I won't have any problems. I almost feel sympathy for Elon Musk because he's just had such a bad job of managing
He's,
his universe over this last 12 months.
he has. I feel like he's had like a conniption somewhere in his brain, and everything's misfired. And
He's
it's funny,
created he's
I have a
created more problems for himself. But anyway, what we're doing is we're solving a problem so we can introduce the next problem.
That's right. And so, and then the next problem just happens to be solved by your pitch. So
Yeah.
then there we get to the pay up process. And so the pay up process is about creating offers that literally sell themselves. That's what we call our thing. It's the offer that sells itself. And so that's presenting an offer. Now, just so you know as well, your high ticket offer that you sell on a sales call, you cannot present it in the same way from stage. People will not buy if you do that.
Oh yeah.
You got to play group dynamics and make sure that everyone in the room feels like you're speaking just to them. So there's a specific formula for that to ensure that you are speaking to the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations, fears, and pain points of the people live, and they're getting a sense of the features, the advantages, and the benefits of that specific thing as it relates to them. And so that requires skill. So that is the skill and the art of platform pitching. So we then want people to, once they've got the amazing offer, is to master that art of platform pitching and being able to sell from stage. And then the other piece, I always ask this question with people when I'm talking to them. I said, hey, look, if I was to give you 100 new clients tomorrow, what would break first? And invariably, the answer is me, I would break. So
Mm.
part of the pay up process is like, how do we onboard clients at scale so that you don't break, the business doesn't break, and they have an amazing experience and feel like, they're being taken care of and they're getting the value. When people sign up, they want value quickly. So how do we reduce that time to first value? And then the last piece of the puzzle is scaling up. So scaling up, obviously, once you've got your foundations ready to go, we then want to scale. So we look at like paid traffic arbitrage. How are you leveraging paid traffic to fill your event, building a world-class events team, and driving events profitability? It happens across three distinct phases. So that's the whole model, right? There's three distinct phases. The first phase is the first obstacle that we need to overcome for people is running their first event. That's obstacle number one. Like, let's just get the first event run. Obstacle number two is we want to actually get paid from that event. That's revenue. So how do we get rewarded for the event itself? And then the obstacle number three is how do we create a system that recurs? So we want to run, reward, and then recur. And the goal after that is, we have kind of four goals for our clients: 6-figure event, add 7 figures in recurring revenue, actually have $1 million cash event, and then $1 million profit event after that as well. And those four things are kind of what we rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat to get to.
And see the biggest fear or the anxiety, and you probably know this better than me, but I'm looking at that there and I like go, oh yeah, that all makes sense. Like I can see people stepping into the setup phase and going, yeah, I'm going to come up with the type of event that matches me. They're thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to get to the blow up. I can deliver value because I know my stuff and I like speaking from the stage. Pay up, yeah, sure. There's structures to that to be able to do it. Scaling up. You can see people freaking out with the fill up bit. Um,
Yeah.
is there, I mean, like, are there, how do you manage that fear? Like, if I was to step into your world, I'm a bit different because I got a big database, right? So
Yeah,
immediately I
sure.
like go, I could probably fill an event. But I mean, like, how do you deal with that person that steps into your world and you go, have you got much of a database? And they go, I think I had 500 connections on Gmail.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Um, First of all, I'm selective about who I work with, right? So that's part of it. And part of it's just a respect for where people are in their business journey. So, say for example, if somebody was just starting out, I wouldn't recommend doing what I did in my first 10 weeks by running my first event in my first 10 weeks in business. That was stupid. And only one person showed up. And yet, yeah, sure, I still made it $20,000, but that's because I actually had experience at Apple before. Like I
Mm.
actually I knew how to manage that conversation, even though I wanted to run out and cry in the corner. So it's a respect for where you're at in your business stage. So I would not be running an event if you were making less than 10 grand per month. Ideally, you want to be making about 50 grand per month to run your first event, because then you've got some chops behind you. You're not relying on the event solely to bring in your income. And you've got a bit of a database, you've got a bit of a following, and you also have a proven high ticket offer that you're already selling. That's the number one thing that people need to be able to run an event. If the offer isn't selling already, you are not going to be able to sell it from stage. So that's that.
If you're doing
But how do
under
we
the
come across?
10K, you need to be having these one-on-one sales calls with a bunch of different people for a week for an extended period of time. And then you figured out how your product sells one to one. And then you can sell it
Yeah,
one to many or flip it.
yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And so, how I overcome the fear with people is we set realistic expectations around what they can expect. So, unless they have that big database like you, I think you said you had like 80,000 on one list, you've got like 20,000 on another, or whatever it is, then we manage their expectations. And so, okay, cool. You've got 500 people on your list, you've got a few thousand Facebook connections. Let's run a small intensive first that's super high ticket. So maybe you're running 10 people in the room and you're charging them 5 grand to get in the room, and you're still selling those people into that event via a sales call. And then you start building up some momentum with that. You get some cash behind you then. You take some of that cash and you start investing it in ads. Maybe your acquisition strategy switches at that point from a one-to-one sales call into a virtual event to sell the intensive. And then it all kind of builds and steamrolls for there. The real thing here is that, like everything in life and business, how you get over that fear is reps and runs on the board. You just need more reps, you need more runs on the board. You need to figure it out. You need to fall on your face, like all of those guys that you were talking about. They all have big problems, right? And what's different between those guys like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and us, and people just starting out, is that they've failed so many times that their threshold for pain is immense, and they know how to navigate it because they've experienced it before. So like Elon, for example, we all think his world is on fire at the moment, but I guarantee you he probably doesn't feel like that. He probably looks at everything and going, well, everyone else is screwed up. I know what I'm doing. I'm about to become the world's first trillionaire. I don't got a problem in the world. The rest of the world's just reacting in this really weird way. I have a hunch that's probably how his brain is. And so for us, when he adopts a similar mindset, is that if something goes wrong, it's a gift. It is a massive gift for us, like that one person event, because it gave me some fire that I was never going to have an empty room ever again.
As well too. I'm like it's not the end of the world. Um, it's funny, you were telling that story before, and then you brought up this idea of reps. There's a brand in Australia and the UK called Dent, and run by a guy
Oh
called
yeah.
Daniel Priestley,
Yeah.
and we ran Dent's first ever event in Australia in partnership. So this is a long time ago. A couple of funny things about it. One is that we held it at a pub called the Golden Fleece,
Oh
and the
God.
Golden Fleece, and it was
Interesting.
and Glenn, who was running running the event, was like, it's like we're gonna go fleece some people. We were joking about that, but the Golden Fleece. Anyway, I think we were lucky to get 25 people at that particular event, and it was awkward as hell. Um, but two things came out of that. One is that yeah, there were about two or three people that actually bought their product, but there was a young fella in the room who was interested in what they were into, and a guy called Mike, and he became their American rep out of that particular event. But I thought of that when you're talking about events where we're very small and no one shows up. Now, anyone that knows Dent or knows KPI, they went on to fill massive theatres all across Australia.
Yeah.
At their peak at live events, they were the gold standard of live events in Australia for at least
Yeah.
5 years before leading up to COVID. But Daniel Priestley, who's also on a bunch of podcasts and other things at the moment, I saw him on Diary of a CEO recently. He was
Yeah.
talking about reps. And he said the only difference between an expert and a non-expert is that one person's done it. No, he said the only thing about having confidence and not confidence is that you've done something 30 times. People think, oh,
Yeah.
if I get the confidence, then I'll go do that. How do I get the confidence so I can do that? He basically says, no, you do something 30 times and that's how you get the confidence. You earn the
Right.
confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we I'm kind of cushioned a little bit in society at the moment. I think that we probably don't reward the reps as much as we used to, and respect
Mm.
it. I think I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I think we've become a bit lazy as a society,
Well,
and
it's
we
our job.
that's
It's our job to make the next generation's life easier. That's what we've been doing since the beginning of time.
very true,
And then we
very true.
complain that our kids are soft when we've spent our entire life making their life easier. But there does get a point where we are robbing the next generation of strength and resilience and confidence because we're making things too easy.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I'm just remembering. You remember that whole thing that blew up in Australia around, oh, maybe if millennials stopped having so much smashed avo, then they'd be able to buy a house. Um, there was a there was a mild piece of merit in the intent behind that. Um, and basically the guy was saying is like work harder, essentially, right? And what we know now to be true is that millennials are actually the hardest working generation in
Yeah.
history, and they have the least ability to purchase houses. Gen Z even worse than anyone prior to us as well. But this
Working
is
two or
why it's so
three
important.
jobs and the idea of getting a house is just science fiction.
That's right. And so when we look at that, we go, okay, cool. We need to help people to create their own economy, which is why I love being in business because I get to help people doing that every single day. We know that the government's not coming to save us. We know that, there's like political turmoil, all those sorts of things. Nothing is kind of sacred anymore. But I do know this is that consumers will always consume. And people will always be looking for ways in which they can improve their lives. And so we're in a really great position in this industry to be able to do that. And so bringing this full circle back to the events, I think that this is, we have a new generation of people coming through with Gen Z. Gen Alpha are hot on their heels. I'm doing some work with a company called WAP at the moment, and WAP are kind of like the Gen Z competition for school, and the Gen Z competition for like Kajabi and all of those things where people create communities, right? And they're really cool. The average age of our employees in that business is like 23 years old. Their founders are 23, 24, and 25, or 24, 25, and 26. And the oldest person in their organization is 28. And they are savages. They have the most amazing product. And it's about building community, helping creators sell stuff online. And when I look at people like that and they go, okay, cool, that's how we're going to actually, well, we need to create our own economy because work as we know it, because of AI, is going out of style. And so the more that we can get people in the room with us, learning from us how to create their own economy and doing the things that we support them with, the absolute better. We need to pull people out of virtual spaces. I love virtual events, but we need to pull them out of that and get them into the room so that they can have that connection that we crave so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, there's a couple of things that you mentioned before. One is that you mentioned you talked about one of your hooks or one of your events where the angle was helping people create a category of one. I love that. That's something that we do in our world. That's one of the first things that we help people do when they step into our world. What events have you got coming up? Is there anything that we can plug? Can we drop a link so that our people can end up at one of your events?
Yeah, sure. So we run three different virtual events every single month. Actually four. So the one's called Stage Selling Secrets, one's called Virtual Event Secrets, and the other one is called Live Event Secrets. And then we do $1 million pitch intensive as well. The pitch intensive is actually for our clients. Occasionally we open up for guests. So there's the virtual side of things. But speaking of categories of one, the event that I'm doing in March is called Impact Revolutions Disguised as Gatherings, and it will be my highest contribution to our industry. I intend, and I say this without ego, but this is like my plan. I'm going to be the funnel hacking live, the traffic and conversions, the Russell Brunson of events within the next 3 to 5 years in our space. And I think I'm well poised to do it, both with my experience and what we're building. But here's the premise of all of this is that I think that people do a terrible job with live events. I think that most people in our industry treat their participants like an ATM when they come into their rooms. They don't, so there's like lots of costs of people being there. The first cost is obviously the money that they're investing in being at the event. Then there's the cost of them being, of the accommodation and flights to be there. Then there is the time cost, the physical time cost of being there. There's the opportunity cost of being away from their business. And then there's the relational cost of being away from their family. So if people are investing that much, when they walk into my room, I want them to feel like they have entered a different world. And so I'm trying to change the way people view live events. It's not just an opportunity for you to whack some content together, get up on stage, and then sell something to people, but to create an experience for people that they will remember forever. What we're doing at our events is we're doing across 3 days, people are going to actually leave with their event launched. On day one, your marketing is done and launched. You're actually selling tickets on the first day. And I hold people in my room for 12 hours a day so that we can get that done. It's like it's a hackathon. We get it done. And then there's a competition for our guys as well. Who can sell the most tickets by the end of the event? And then so there's a lot of gamification that goes into that. Day two, it's all about event design. And so we create activations about you creating incredible experiences for people. How do you create content that helps people to get closer to buying your offer? And then on day three, it's all around selling from stage, creating offers that convert, and so on and so forth. And my point here, and this is why it's called Revolutions Disguised as Gatherings, is that I'm trying to create the next generation of Tony Robbins, of Russell Brunsons, and those sorts of things. All of those people became categories of one by doing live events. That's how they made their names. And so if we can get people to, for lack of a better term, make events great again, and to really truly respect the people that are coming into their rooms and provide an experience where people go, I need to tell the world that I'm at this event. They're marketing the event for you live, doing all those sorts of things. I have a hunch that we'll create a movement that outlives all of us, where people come back into these sacred spaces to connect, to communicate, and engage in commerce at a time when AI is going to be driving everything. We know that most people will be out of work within the next 10 to 20 years. Most people from most jobs. So there's going to be a large influx of people looking to create their own economy and looking for leaders like you to be able to look to help them to make that transition out of the traditional workforce. We've got a lot of work to do as well in terms of income. I'm a big believer in universal basic income. And one of the ideas that I'm toying with at the moment is I don't think governments will get to the table fast enough. So what if we created a privately funded universal basic income? What would that look like? I want to be at the forefront of that as well. So yeah, I'd love people to come to Impact. It's going to be in Florida in March, 3 days of pure fire. And it will not be like any event you've ever been to previously. From the moment you walk in, it's a full-on activation zone, not just a stuffy conference space. And yeah, I'd love to have you there.
Florida in March. Be there or be square. If you're in the US of A, you've got absolutely no excuse not to getting there, not for getting there. If you're from Australia or the UK, it might be a little bit harder, but a week in the US, I don't know. Take in where's Universal Studios? That's not far from that. Make a trip of
Right.
it.
So funnily enough, it looks like we like don't quote me on this, but we're in negotiations with venues right now. It looks like we're actually probably going to be hosting it in Orlando, so you can get to Disneyland with your kids there, Disney World. There's a whole bunch of other theme
That's
parks
what I
there
meant
as
to
well.
say.
So,
Disneyland, Disney World, not Universal
well, so this
Studios.
is the thing. So part of my thing is put your events on where people want to go. So if people are
Yeah,
taking time away from their families, put it near Disney World so the kids can and their partners can come along and enjoy themselves as well.
there's a hot tip to finish it up. Host your event where in a place where people want to go. It'll be easier to get speakers, and people can get to go to Disneyland as a tax deduction. All right, what an awesome tip.
The tax
No, no,
deduction, I love that.
we're
I'm going
not
to use that.
we're not accountants, so don't take our word for financial advice. Thank you, Brody. This was so much fun. This was awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. One last thing for everybody here. I always end everything that I talk about saying one thing, and this alludes to what you were saying before, about people feeling like that, they can't do something. You are extraordinary. The fact that you are here alive on this planet, there's 1 in 1 trillion chance that you're alive. The fact that your heart is beating is an absolute miracle. You are extraordinary. There should be nothing that holds you back from doing the things that you want to do. So just go out there and get it done. Boom.
Brody Lee. Boom.
Thanks,
All
man.
right, cool.
That's
So I
fun.
have this slide that comes down at the end and actually goes shakam. So that'll work really well. So I'll go Brody
Great.
Lee, boom, and then this thing will go shakam, and that's how my podcasts and webinars and recorded webinars end. That was really
We
great.
love, we love.
That was
All
great, and
right, man.
it'll work out
So
to be like 55 minutes, which is perfect because people look at it and they go,
sweet.
you know, yeah, it's real tough. It's real rare to someone to go, oh, I think I'm going to listen to 4 hours of Joe Rogan, but they'll go, oh yeah, it's under an hour. I'll put it on while I drive the car. So that's a good length.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't believe that. Like, I think I've missed the boat with long form in terms of how much people actually engage. I saw an interview Stephen Bartlett did with somebody that was like 3 hours the other day, and I'm
well,
like, where do I have
there's
three
one that
hours to invest in this?
there's one that I listen to that I'm a fanatic over called Acquired, and that's a 4 hour
Yeah.
podcast. But
Wow.
they cover the history of a company. So like it might be Hermes, and they go all the way back hundreds of years ago, and they tell the story. Or they'll do Mars. The Mars story, the Mars bar story, the Mars story is amazing. That's an amazing story. But I don't listen to it one sitting. I'm like I'm driving to the gym and I'm playing, the swimming pool. And I'm like, and it just goes back to the last bit of the podcast, and it will keep me entertained for a month because it's like 4 hours. That's really really good. All right, well that's cool. So you've got an event happening in March, so I'll need to know about that. Um,
Sure.
and we'll do what we
We
can to
actually don't have any
support that
promo
in
ready
March.
for it yet. We
No,
don't
no,
have any
but
promo.
it was good. There's other things. And
Yeah.
we'll have other links
When?
where people can register for your other stuff. Um,
Yeah, sure. How long does
so
like when roughly will it go out, do you think?
well, at the moment, you know what? I had about freaking like 6 months in the can, and then I got lazy and I didn't do any. So I think I'm only like about 6 weeks to a month behind. But if you want, I
Okay.
mean, like, but if you're saying, oh, I don't want this to go out until October or something, we can do that as well too. But at the moment, I
Yeah,
think it's
sure.
probably about 4 weeks away, maybe 5 weeks away if we're just plotting them out the way that we normally plot them out.
I should
Mm.
have a funnel ready in about 6 weeks or so. So let's just keep talking. If we can get it out maybe like late September, that'd be cool.
Well, yeah, okay, late September. Also, as well, if you want to do, I'll tell you this the Saturday special thing. How much you got?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
I'll give you 3 minutes, 3 minutes
Yeah,
to tell you
sounds
what this is.
good.
So, yeah, what we did is the reciprocal send is like a really common, obvious thing, right? Everybody's been doing it forever. There's a guy called Adam Franklin, and we were trying to do a reciprocal send, and we just couldn't do it. We just kept one of us didn't have availability. And then I was like, dude, let's just do it Saturday morning. We'll both mail at 10 a.m. Saturday morning. He had a one-page business plan. I sent an email saying, check out, my mate Adam's got this one-page business plan. I had this guide called 100 Leads in 10 Days. He's like, hey, you get me, my mate goes 100 leads in 10 days. And yeah, we just mailed it. And then Tuesday, Adam's like, dude, have you checked the stats? And I'm like, no. And like the open rate was off the charts, click-through rate insane. He'd like picked up like 382 leads or something. I'd picked up like 300 leads. Um, the opt-out rate was almost zero, like maybe like three or
Cool.
five people, right? Um,
Yes. Sweet. Sweet.
and then the next 2 weeks we're both just making bank. And I'm like
Yeah.
signing people that had been on his database for 3 years that he'd never sold a thing to.
I think.
And he's closing people on from my database that I'd never sold anything to. But you know what?
Yeah.
People
Sweet.
go, oh, I like the guy in a suit, or I like the guy in a cap, whatever. People are weird. They go with the people that they want,
Sure.
even though we're almost
Yeah.
direct competitors. Um, anyway, after that, we just went, okay, let's just do this more and more and more. Just covered a couple things. One, if we offer an event, it tanks. If we offer a course, it tanks. If we offer
I have
someone
an
a
amazing
meeting,
lead
it
magnet.
tanks. If
I
it's
have an amazing lead magnet.
But if it's a lead magnet, and the emails that we
Mm.
send usually have less than about 30 words, like they're tiny.
Sweet.
And the
Yeah.
hook of the thing is the headline of the email. So the headline is one page business plan, square brackets PDF. The email is something like, hey, check out this awesome thing that was prepared by my good buddy Adam Franklin. As the headline says, it's a one-page business plan. And then there's a picture of the one-page business plan. And then it says, and then there might be like a short paragraph, James, and it says, P.S. Every now and then we give something away to a client or a member of our or a partner or a member of our network that we think is awesome. Enjoy. And it's
Yeah.
you know
Cool.
it's that, and we do that almost every weekend. And
Okay.
if someone's got a list of 5,000, we mail to 10,000. And the reason why is
Yeah.
we'll probably pick up 100 leads and we'll lose like five, or like 95 ahead,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
We've done it
Cool.
with people where we've mailed to our 30,000 and they've mailed to their 90,000, and both of us have been stoked, which we've begun to realize that it doesn't really matter if this list is too different in size. Everybody wins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I agree. Okay. So, dude,
It just is, yeah.
let me tell you
But
what
but
I've
we
got.
don't have 80. We have about between 22 and 30,000. That's what we've got at the moment.
That's
That 80,000 list that I bought, and I could tell you that story another day. It ended up largely junk, and I ended up turfing it after a while anyway. And I was trying to sell something associated with my former business, Anthill magazine. So that
okay.
and yeah, yeah, and I don't sell those startup type products anymore anyway. But I learned heaps at the time. Yeah. But you
So,
got a
how do you think
database that
this would
you've
play,
bought.
man?
Have you got one that you've
How do
built
you
on
think
your
this?
own? Your database that you built on your own?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So ours is 5,000. But we're seeing really good results with the other one. So we'll send to the whole list for you. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
give me about 6 weeks to get it fully warmed up, and we can do something for sure. But I have a lead magnet, dude, that's crushing at the moment. It's called the Steve Jobs Sales Bible. I fed 1,000 hours worth of footage of him selling on stage, and got our event expert AI to do an analysis of it. And it's pumped out 50
Oh,
pages of neuroscience gold of like breaking down what he does, what he did on different product launches, the applications of it to high ticket offers, and how people can embed that in their own thing. And it's fucking fire.
that is
And
a
so what I
great
do,
application of AI because a lot of lead magnets are just stuff that I could go into AI now and go, give me a press
yeah,
release template. But that one there is
yeah,
like, oh, I actually took the stuff, I assembled it, I curated it, I put it in, I got the output.
mhm,
I then added my layers of my own personal experience and expertise. That's a good one.
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
what happens is, so then I created a micro version of it called the Mini Bible, which is a summary essentially. It's 10 pages of it. And that's what they get when they opt in. But if they want the full Bible, they've either got to jump on a call with us or come to one of our events.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. We got one at the
Yeah,
moment
cool.
called How to Get Found and Recommended by ChatGPT. And we're running
Fuck
it with
yes.
and we're doing that as a Facebook ad, and we're getting leads for like $3.50 Facebook ads.
That's so
B2B
good, man.
business owner
I,
leads. And that's Australian, not USD 50, 350, Australian $3.50. Yeah.
I
So
don't
what's that?
think I'll
Like
be able to run ads to this.
$2.60 American or something.
That's
Crazy.
really good.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
good. That's
yeah.
about $2 American. Yeah. I don't
But
think I'll
it'll
be
only
able to run
last six
ads.
months. What's that?
I don't think I'll be able to run ads to mine. I think Apple will have issues with the name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
No,
But the
we'll
Saturday
see.
special thing, this thing that what I'm talking about, like if you're already at least a little bit consistent mailing to your list, even if you're
Yeah,
not, you just do it every Saturday or every second Saturday, and no one gives a damn. I've been
yeah,
waiting for some sort of backlash or people to say you're
yeah,
just mailing other people's stuff and whatever it is, and it's just zero. And I think
yeah.
it's just
Cool.
because the emails are just so straightforward. My mate created this. It's really awesome. Check it out. And they're Saturday morning, they're out doing whatever they're doing. They're looking at their phone. They go, oh, that'll be useful. And then, and then
Cool.
after on the success page, you have register for the event or book the meeting or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah, so
yeah,
we have a landing page selling it, so it'll link to a landing page that sells a really basic landing page, but
yeah,
looks
yeah,
awesome. So it sells the larger one, and then on the next page we say, hey, there's actually an expanded version of this, which is like you've got this amazing thing, but this one's even more detailed. It's got tactical, it's got high ticket applications, blah blah blah. And then it's like register for an event or book a call with us, and you'll get a copy of it. Um,
yeah.
but it's
I really
stay
want
to
to.
the end of the event and
I
then get
got,
it.
I got to see that. Our success page at the moment, after I get found and recommended by ChatGPT, is not converting well, and that was because
Okay.
we just had an offer, and we went, oh, we'll just put that afterwards, and it's yeah, I gotta rebuild that. Anyway, that was cool.
Dude,
Thank
here's
you.
the here, one second. I'm just going to give you a link to this right now. This is
Oh, cool.
please don't share this yet because it's just what we're doing minor at the moment. But here's the Bible, and it is. I'm just going to put it into the chat.
Yeah,
This is we're actually going to brand this properly. So we have sick branding, and we're going to put like photos of Steve Jobs on it with quotes from him and everything. But that's the meat of it. And yeah, have a look, check it out. It's really good. There's a lot of really
yeah,
cool stuff there.
awesome. Steve Jobs Sales Bible,
All
TM.
right, man.
All right,
Thank
have a
you.
great
This has
day.
been awesome. I'll
Thank you.
yeah, let me know when it's live. If you can give us the raw recording as well, we'll chop it up on our end too, and we'll promote also for you. Life's good then.
Life's good. All right. All right. Thank you
Thanks,
again.
man.
Have a
Have
great
a
night.
great day.
See ya.
Talk soon. Bye, bye.
Bye.